You're watching the Dallas Cowboys Report. I am your host, Tom Downey. We'll dive into some rumors as the offseason gets going for the Cowboys. But first, some news. Amari Cooper underwent surgery today as broken by Amari Cooper himself. He posted it on Instagram, and a bit of a surprise since Amari Cooper finished Week 17 against the Giants. Didn't leave the game with an injury outside of 3 snaps after his ankle got kind of twisted and caught up under James Bradbury. Cooper did have that surgery today. Reports are this is a minor ankle scope. That certainly checks out. Again, in almost all cases, you're not going to be able to leave the game briefly, then come back if you got a major ankle issue. This was what Cooper posted on his Instagram earlier today. Again, right ankle, called it just a minor ankle scope. This is not expected in any capacity to limit him in the offseason workout or training. In terms of surgeries, this is certainly on the bottom end of the scale. So absolutely worth mentioning, discussing, nothing to panic over. Now, Cooper's been battered and bruised really throughout his NFL career, but he was awesome this year. I know that the touchdowns were down. 92 catches for over 1,100 yards with Ben DiNucci and Andy Dalton playing actual games for this Dallas Cowboys team. Cooper was awesome this year. In terms of relative to his quarterback play, this might have been Cooper's best year in the NFL. I thought he was fantastic, and frankly, he should have had more yards and catches and touchdowns because there were a couple times that various quarterbacks missed him getting wide open for the Cowboys. So, again, ankle surgery successful today for Amari Cooper. Just a minor ankle scope. Nothing to be concerned about. But with that in mind, give me your one-word reaction to Cooper's surgery. I'm going to go with minor because I think that sums it up very well. But I want to hear your guys' thoughts too. So I'm going to make this question the pinned comment on today's video. So if you get the ad break there on YouTube, scroll on down, help me feed my family, and get your votes in. Let's talk rumors. Now let's go left guard here. Should there be a battle for that position for 2021? You guys know how I feel about Connor Williams. I think he's better than a lot of people out there want to give him credit for. But this is 4 stars. And I'm very confident in my thought process here in terms of this should be a no-brainer, actually. Both Connor Williams and Connor McGovern played this year. They finally got McGovern out there on the field, right? Williams was better this year. But Connor McGovern is under contract longer. Sewell has just 1 year left on his deal. There's no justifiable reason to not let these two compete for the left guard duties unless you're trying to experiment with Connor Williams at left tackle or something along those lines if you dump Tyron Smith. The play this year, now, again, this is all per Pro Football Focus, the sacks and pressures, the penalties. They favor Connor Williams, although penalties, of course, favors McGovern, almost double the reps for Sewell. Now, the run grade, of course, it's always subjective, right? I actually don't think Williams was really worthy of a 71.3 run grade, but regardless, you got 2 passable options. If Connor Williams or Connor McGovern is your worst offensive lineman or second worst offensive lineman, you're in good shape on the offensive line. That's what that means. When it happened this year, where Connor Williams was your best offensive lineman by the end of the season, that's bad. That's not what we want to have happen, what Cowboys don't want to have happen. And again, Williams has 1 year left on his deal. He's a cheap second-round pick. From that perspective, oh, you like that. Now, do you want to pay Connor Williams starting left guard money? I actually don't think I do. So a tie, in the end, should go to Connor McGovern. But pick a left guard here for me. W for Connor Williams or M for Connor McGovern. Let those two compete, and let's see who starts in 2021. Speaking of starting next season, Donovan Wilson. You're damn right he's a starter. 4 stars on this one. He impressed me. I think he impressed every single Dallas Cowboys fan and the coaching staff too. He absolutely thrived once he got to start. Unquestionably has earned one of those starting safety spots for next season. Also begs the question, why on earth he wasn't out there earlier? And that actually gives me concern about the coaching staff in general when it comes to picking starters. They told us Darian Thompson was better? How? I mean, every time this year there was a big play in the secondary, it felt like it was Donovan Wilson or the next one ended up being Donovan Wilson. It felt like 50% of the time minimum Wilson was heavily involved in that big play. So I got one starter at safety. That's what I've got. The rest of them, you got to figure out that in either free agency or the draft or something along those lines. But I feel good about Wilson. Now, I once felt good about Xavier Woods. Then he never took the next step forward and kind of regressed. But Wilson's also offered already more playmaking ability than what Woods did early in his NFL career. So which player impressed you the most in 2020? I think Donovan Wilson makes a lot of sense. I see some CeeDee Lamb votes. That works for me too. I think relative to our expectations, again, mine were a little bit more mellow than some of yours in the comments. And hey, you guys were right. I like it. I think Wilson's my vote here. But let me know what you guys think. Which player impressed you the most in 2020? Today's show is made possible by our sportsbook partner, BetUS. They were unimpressed by my betting track mark this year. I lost a lot of bets that I feel bad about. But I used promo code Cowboys125 when I signed up and deposited. So I got a 125% deposit bonus. You can get that too at chatsports.com/bet when you use that promo code. And I've gotten hot now in the bowl season and entering the back end of the NFL schedule. So here's a little parlay I've got cooked up for you guys here. My NFC playoff picks. I'm going to go Seahawks -3.5 versus the Rams. Surprisingly low given the uncertainty at quarterback for LA. I got Washington covering the spread right now, 9.5 against Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because always bet on the underdog. That's a sub-500 team at home in the postseason. It's undefeated in history. And the Saints money line against the Bears up to -500 right now. You put down $10, you win 35-25. That's a pretty good return on investment right there. You can go place that bet or whatever bet you want, or bet the opposite of what I did. Chatsports.com/bet. Promo code is Cowboys125. Let's talk Jaylon Smith now at linebacker, a possible position change. I'll give this 2 stars. I am very curious and frankly uncertain about what the future holds for Jaylon Smith. Do they cut him? No one's going to want to trade for him, frankly, at his contract. Do they try and find a way to get him back to playing better, right? Since that 2018 season, the one that got him paid, man, he's not been the same guy. And I know that the raw tackle numbers look great. And 5 tackles for loss and 5 pass breakups aren't terrible, but he's missing run fits. He's a liability in coverage. Those are all concerns. And I think in terms of the position change kind of floated by David Hellman over as part of his Cowboys mailbag, makes some sense. My biggest concern with Jaylon is in coverage. I don't like him in that area. So if I can reduce his time in coverage by letting him blitz or even being a third down edge rusher, I think that makes some sense. I think in the end, the Cowboys are going to consider at least releasing Jaylon Smith. I think that'll be a not now decision, but maybe in a month or so, somewhere in that time frame, because you got to make a decision by mid-March. If he stays, I do think he has to blitz more. Let this sink in, guys. Jaylon Smith, after we were told Mike Nolan would blitz more, blitzed less than he ever has in his NFL career, relative to the number of snaps that he played. I don't like that at all. If you're going to keep Jaylon, I think you have to get him involved more on the line of scrimmage and get him out of space where at times he really seemed to struggle this past season. Now, we'll let you know what the Cowboys end up doing with Jaylon and other players throughout the offseason, because this is going to be your one-stop shop for all of the latest Cowboys news, rumors, and everything else in between. Hit that big red button if you haven't already, and if you're watching on Facebook or some other platform, new YouTube URL. It's youtube.com/CowboysTV. Little bit easier for you guys to remember, but subscribe today. Let's talk Dak then and the whole Tad Prescott stuff going on Twitter, which is annoying. 4 stars on this one. There's a lot to unpack here. Tad Prescott has made it very clear on Twitter he doesn't like Cowboys fans, which on one hand I get because I've seen the DMs that Tad's got. And guys, come on. And I know it's nobody who watches the show. I know it's other people. These are some of the DMs Tad gets, right? Dak doesn't deserve a bad brother like you. Wishing you were dead. What are we doing here, fellas? I know it's no one that watches the show. Just random Twitter idiots. But come on, man. That's not okay. Why would you send that to somebody? How difficult is it to just be a normal, nice person? And the problem here is that clearly Tad and Dak are close. They're brothers. That makes perfect sense, right? And if you got a brother of a star player who's like, shoot, man, you can go somewhere else and be more loved, maybe that starts to weigh on you, which Tad has said before. That's troubling. I get it. In the end, I don't want to freak out over this. This is just his brother. This is something more along the lines of Twitter beefs that in the end won't really impact anything when it comes to Dak and his contract talks with the Cowboys. But there's always something, right? Always something going on that goes, well, that's not very ideal when it comes to this organization, and that's where we're at in terms of the Tad Twitter beefs with Cowboys fans. So will Dak end up re-signing with the Dallas Cowboys? Get your votes in here. Y for yes, or type in N for no. I want to believe somebody's got to cave. Either Dak's side's got to come closer to where the Cowboys are at, or the Cowboys got to come closer to Dak's side. Frankly, it should probably be the team because it's quarterback. This is not a tight end we're arguing about. This is a quarterback. Maybe that should be the priority for the organization. Let's go to Dak's best friend Zeke then. Was he the number one disappointment? I went back and forth in terms of what stars to give this one. In the end, I gave it 2. And I think that the Bleacher Report article on this was focused only on current players, which does narrow down your pool, I'd argue, kind of significantly here. The reality is Zeke's numbers dipped again this season. That's troubling. The fumble issues early. That's even more troubling because you can't blame the fumbles on not having your quarterback or not having a healthy offensive line. You paid Zeke a lot of money. You made him one of the highest paid backs in the NFL. 4 yards per carry? It's not great. I mean, at least he played for most of the year, unlike Christian McCaffrey. And again, the offensive line, they absolutely get blamed here. Not having your quarterback gets blamed here. That's also the rationale behind not wanting to pay back big money. But I also think the reason I gave it 2 as opposed to 4 is because I think there are bigger disappointments for this team. The entire defense, Dontari Poe, Fatty's Only 2020, all major disappointments for the Cowboys and us as fans. So get your votes in here. What do you think is the single biggest Dallas Cowboy disappointment? Maybe it's the injuries. Injuries is a fair one as well. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Let's talk draft here briefly. How about taking Wyatt Davis in round 1? Yeah, no. Don't like that idea at all. Fake news on this one. This is a bad idea for a lot of different reasons. Number 1, most importantly, the Ohio State offensive guard, Wyatt Davis, he might be the first guard taken. He's not a top 10 pick, folks. He was better last year than he was in 2020. And almost as importantly, guys, there are way bigger needs than a left guard in round 1. Now, if you want to take an offensive tackle who can play left guard, but eventually becomes your left tackle, like, I don't know, maybe a Rashawn Slater, totally different conversation. If you want to take a pure guard, when you got passable options already, 2 of them, frankly, in the Connors at left guard, no. Why would you do that when you don't have passable options at every single level of your defense? That's a bigger concern. Frankly, I thought FANSIDED'S list was pretty bad. The 2 corners they had, Surtain and Farley, okay, I'm on board with that. Davis, over all the other offensive linemen? No, disagree there. Kwity Paye and Gregory Rousseau, guys in a normal draft class, I don't think they're worth a top 10 pick. They're only in discussion because it's not a great edge class. I know Rousseau put up great numbers, but it's not as translatable as you might otherwise think. To go a left guard at number 10, who is not a Zach Martin caliber prospect or a Quentin Nelson caliber prospect, mind you, no. Now, if you trade way down in round 1, different conversation. I always love a good trade down. Pure top 10 pick? No, I think that's a stupid idea.